Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are here to look at something just a little bit different. So what you see on the screen in front of you, of course, is the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Death Metal Bat Cycle. Now, that thing's pretty cool, and you can pick it up pretty cheap. I mean, you can buy these things on Amazon for 18 to 20 bucks pretty much all day long, every day. They're cool, they're fun, they look great with, your DC Multiverse figures. They're just really well done and at a price that is just hard to beat. I mean, you're not seeing Marvel Legends or really any other companies do stuff that looks this cool, vehicles for that price. You're just not. But I just recently bought the retro carded Ghost Rider, and well, he doesn't come with a motorcycle, so I wanted to, give him a motorcycle, and so I did. So I started with this. I started with the Death Metal Bat Cycle, and I want to show you guys what I came up with. And here we have the finished product, my own version of a Ghost Rider motorcycle. Now, obviously, this isn't based on any particular design from the comics or anything like that. I kind of just had to wing it, to be honest with you. I'm starting with a bike that looks very different from a lot of other bikes that you've seen used by Ghost Rider in the comics. And so as I was tearing it down, I was just kind of making it up as I went along, but just trying to keep the theme of Ghost Rider in this build and in this modification and custom. So I think it came out pretty good. Now I want to give you guys a quick little overview of what the bike looks like, and then I will get into some of the details of what I did to get it to this point, just in case you might want to use the Death Metal Bat Cycle as a base for either a Ghost Rider bike or maybe just another bike for your display altogether. Either way, I'll kind of break some of that stuff down, but here it is. I think it looks really good. It fits the new retro Ghost Rider, I think, perfectly. He looks great on it, and I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. So now we're going to take Ghost Rider off the bike. We're going to kind of get him out of the way so you can see the bike itself and kind of go through it. Now, the first thing you will probably notice when looking at this and comparing it to what it did look like is I don't have the giant rib cage around the motorcycle tank like it originally was. Now, I intended to put this back on the bike, but what happened is as I was putting the bike back together after having completely disassembled it and painted it and done all the things I wanted to do to it, before I put the rib cage back on, I realized it looks a lot more like a Ghost Rider bike without that on there, and just kind of helps to further differentiate it from where it started as the Death Metal Bat Cycle. So I ended up just leaving it off altogether, and I'm very, very glad that I did, because I think it looks a lot better for Ghost Rider like this. Now, one thing I do want to say about this is when it comes to the flame effects, at some point, I may go back and try and redo these. They are detachable, they're not stuck to the bike or anything like that. It kind of just, sits in the flame effects. I'd never tried to do flame effects before, period, and this was my first attempt, and I think it came out okay, but not great. But I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to redo them, so for now, this is what it's going to look like on display. And I think it looks okay, but it certainly could look a lot better. I did these flame effects with hot glue and paint. My first time ever trying to do that. So, take it with a grain of salt, guys. I tried, okay? I tried. But as far as the bike itself goes, I think it looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and take the flame effects off. You can see the one on the front wheel just kind of clips over the front of the wheel like that. And then the one at the rear here just kind of pops out, and you can see that I've got a little space for the rear tire and the tailpipes there to fit into. And so what you've got is this kind of effect where it looks like flames coming out of the tailpipes and, coming off the back of the tire and stuff like that. So I think it looks okay. But, again, I may try to do a better job on that at some point. So we'll set those off to the side, and we'll look at the bike itself. Now, I mean, the main thing I did to this bike after disassembling it was completely cover it in silver paint, because this thing was originally kind of a dark gray plastic. And I know the silver doesn't come off very well, because once I clear coated this thing, it kind of dulls the shine, but it's still a much, much lighter and brighter gray slash silver than it was when I started, which is definitely a big improvement. And then, of course, after that, the main thing I did was come back and do all the details in black on the bike, because, you know, it's Ghost Rider. I want a lot of black on this bike. So, you know, did the wheels, did all the details all around here, redid the tailpipes there, you know, painted inside the tailpipes, redid everything on this side as well, came in with a brush, did all the little details and everything on there. And I think it came out looking pretty good. So it's a mostly black bike with some kind of silver touches on there around the engine and on the frame. And it looks good. I mean, I think it certainly looks much, much better than it did. Then, of course, I did go ahead, as you can tell, and paint the wheels themselves. They were gray. Painted them black just to match everything a little bit better, and I think it looks fantastic. Now, as far as the bone pieces on this thing, didn't really do anything back here. Obviously left the rib cage off the tank, but then we get to the skull at the front, and one of the main things I did, obviously, was cut the big bat ears off and then remove the eyes. It had these big bug eyes kind of sticking out. They look like two big marbles, marbles, I should say. And it just looked stupid. It didn't look like Ghost Rider, so I hollowed them out, and I just darkened up with the paint the eye holes, the nose holes, and then I kind of went over all the bone pieces I was going to leave on the bike in alcohol, because, as you can tell, originally, I don't know how well this comes across on camera, but there's a red tint to all this, which looked really cool on the Bat Cycle, but as a Ghost Rider bike, not so much. So I stripped as much of that off as possible while leaving details on there. And then, of course, I just put a couple little horns on there, some devil horns, because I thought they looked cool, which honestly, where I got those was by cutting them off the bottom of the forks on the motorcycle. They have these little spikes that come off the bottom. Cut them off there, put them up there, and I think that came out pretty well. So that's kind of the overview of this thing as far as what it looks like. I'm really happy with it. But I do want to go into what I did to get it to this point, because if you attempt to do this, I just kind of want you to be aware of what you're going to be in for, because it was way more complicated than I thought it would be. Honestly, there are about 7 screws holding this thing together in strategic locations that some of them can be kind of hard to get to. You have 3 just up here where the handlebars connect to the frame of the motorcycle just to take this front piece off. You've got 1, 2, and then 3 back here under the seat, but this one you can't get off easily. You actually have to heat the seat up because it is rubber cemented down onto the bike. So you have to heat it and then slowly peel it off so that you can get this off in one piece, because contrary to what it looks like, this piece right here is all one piece. Everything here, the seat where it comes up to touch the tank, all the way back into this bone, it's just painted different colors, all one piece, and you have to peel that off before you can get to the last screw to take the 2 halves of the bike apart and split it apart. And once you do that, then you have to be real careful about taking this rear tire off, because there's a metal rod that goes through there, and it's kind of stuck to the plastic on both sides, and you got to pull it apart very, very easily so you don't crack the plastic. And then you can remove the rear wheel, then you've got the entire front section off, and then you have the 2 halves of the motorcycle. And then once you do that, you've got 4 more screws inside holding the tailpipes on, which is all one piece, and you've got 1, 2, 3 screws there, and then 1 back here at the back that you can't get to until you split this thing in half. Once you've done that, you do have it mostly taken apart, except for the front section is all glued together, and I could not get it apart, so I had to basically do everything I was going to do to it as one piece. The handlebars, the top half of the skull, the bottom half of the skull, the forks, and the tire, could not get those apart. So everything I did to that, I had to do in one piece, because I did not want to break this thing. And yeah, then I painted everything and put it back together, and this is what you have. So, you know, I'm really happy with it, but would love to hear what you guys have to say down below. I know there's some great customs out there, and this is by far something rudimentary compared to what a lot of guys out there can do. But I gotta say, I'm very happy with how it came out, despite the fact that this was my first attempt at flame effects. I'm still pretty happy with being able to get this thing put together and have this as a cool display for my retro Ghost Rider figure, because I do like that figure. It's an older figure, as I said in the review, but I think it still works, even though it's not great. And I really, really needed him to have his motorcycle, and now I have it. So that's pretty much it, guys. That is my overview of my custom Ghost Rider motorcycle. So I want to get into the price breakdown here really quickly on this thing. And yeah, I know that was kind of a janky edit into the video, but I kind of wanted to make sure that I included this in the video. As I said at the beginning, you can pick up this bike for about 18 bucks on Amazon as of right now. Now, I think regular price is 20 to 25, but even at that price, this is still a really good deal. Now, other than that, I didn't use anything to customize this bike that really cost me any money, because it was all stuff I already had. Now, that being said, if you don't have all the things to be able to do this yourself, you really only need a handful of items to be able to do this. You need a can of, in my case, 2-in-1 Krylon paint and primer silver spray paint. You need some good testers or Vallejo or some other type of black paint that you can use to paint this stuff, acrylic or whatever you want to use, just be careful. Then of course you need a good clear coat, which I went over this with some of the Duplicolor satin clear coat. And for those that don't know, the Duplicolor, that's automotive spray paint in a can. It's just automotive clear coat is what it is, and it works really, really well. Outside that, I had a hot glue gun and some hot glue sticks to make the fire effects, and then of course red and yellow paint for that. But all in all, I mean, even if I add all that stuff up that I already had, you know, I've only got about $30 to $35 into making this thing, and that's pretty damn good in my opinion, especially when you look at what Hasbro was trying to charge for their Hell Charger, which wasn't even that great. And in my opinion, I'd much rather see Ghost Rider on a motorcycle than in a car, because I grew up with motorcycle Ghost Rider, not wannabe Dodge Charger Ghost Rider. So anyway, guys, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. What's your opinions? Does this look like something you're wanting to do? Do you have this Ghost Rider and you want a motorcycle for him? Is this something you would consider? Do you like customs? Do you not like customs? You just don't want to deal with it, so you're going to go out on eBay and try and find an older motorcycle that, trust me, is going to cost a whole lot more than $30 to $35 just to put this Ghost Rider on a bike on your display? Would love to know what you guys think. Leave that in the comment section down below. So that is it, guys. Thank you for watching. I truly do appreciate it. And as always, guys, remember to enjoy your collection.